Welcome, everybody, back to the Nuggets of Gold podcast and YouTube channel. So for today's episode, I want to talk about what I believe is the key for the 49ers to have success and why they've had so much recent success in the last couple games. So to me, and this is going to sound a little weird, it comes down to one stat. When you go back and you look at the box score, you can tell how the 49ers played by one stat: rushing attempts. When you look at that, look at the last two games, 42 rushing attempts against the Jags and 44 against the Rams. Just so you know, those are absolutely ridiculous numbers. Anytime you're running the ball over 40 times, you probably have 99, 100% chance of winning that game. Those are ridiculous numbers. That means that the other team, it means you're just milking the clock. And that's what the 49ers need to do. They need to get themselves into situations where their defensive pass rush is able to go after the quarterback, where they're not playing from behind and getting in these tough situations, because their team is not built to come back in games, but they're built to sustain leads. We've seen the last couple weeks. What do? They do not play. They do not have mistakes early on in the game. You look at that Cardinals game, they had 2 fumbles early on that really cost them. They end up going down 2 scores, and everything just kind of falls apart. They're not able to run the football. Why? Because the defense is just daring them to try to push the ball down the field. And frankly, they're not very good at pushing the ball down the field right now. That is one of the issues for them. However, when you're able to get ahead, when you're able to get the ball in Deebo Samuel's hands, Brandon Ayuk's hands, George Kittle's hands, and you're able to run the football and slowly move the ball down the field, you have a ton of success. You get a lead early. Then you see the other offenses, they have to kind of go, all right, we're going to have Nick Bosa in the backfield a bunch because we have to drop back and pass, and the 49ers know we are going to do that. It puts them in such a better situation defensively, and offensively, they're really able to just grind out the clock. We saw 2 amazing drives in these last 2 games where they had the ball for 13 minutes and 10 minutes for their first drive of the game against the Rams and the Jaguars. That is amazing stuff. That is something that you just really do not see that often. But for this team, if you're able to run behind Trent Williams, George Kittle, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, Kyle Juszczyk, you're going to have success. They haven't even ran the ball from that high of a yards per carry lately. It's been around 3, I want to say, for these last couple games. It doesn't matter because the other team knows what they're doing. They're just running out the clock. Every time they get the ball, they're just completely milking it. And then you go back, and then the other team makes mistakes, puts the 49ers back in the red zone, and you see them flourish in these situations. So what do they need to do? They need to play mistake-free football early on. They need to get the ball into their playmakers' hands, and that allows them to just milk the clock, run the football, and then eventually, even when you have those 6-man defensive fronts, if you're up by 2-3 scores, it doesn't matter at that point. But when you're down by 14 points and other teams are daring you and going, yeah, we're going to put 6 linemen out there every time, you cannot run the football because you're not going to be effective on offense. But if you are up by so many points when your only goal on offense is to just milk the clock, you can afford to do that. And that's what we've seen the last couple weeks with the 49ers, and they are so good up front offensively that they can just pound the rock over and over and over again. And if a defensive secondary or a linebacker makes one mistake or misses one tackle, that can be a Deebo Samuel touchdown. That can be a massive George Kittle play, a massive Brandon Ayuk play. And that's what we've seen. We've seen them target those 3 guys heavily. When the Yak Bros are healthy and clicking, it's hard for defenses, and you have to respect those guys. And if you don't, then they're going to torch you. And if you do kind of, take some guys out of the box and really protect your secondary and really try to focus on Deebo Samuel, Ayuk, and Kittle, well, then you're going to run the ball down their throat. And that's what this 49ers offense has been doing. That's why we've seen them so successful recently. Jimmy Garoppolo not pushing the ball downfield that much hasn't been that big of an issue. Why? Because they don't really need to right now. We haven't seen that. So it's been great to see. I think if we continue to see them just pounding the ball, just running it down teams' throats, really, you're going to see the 49ers have a really, really big second half. Now, say next week they go out against the Vikings and they turn the ball over a couple times early, it's going to be hard for them to flourish. But if they get those leads and they have those big drives early on and they come out and they go, okay, they have 7 points. They're running the ball down their throat. They're not committing holding penalties, false starts, stuff like that to put them in 3rd and long, and it's 3rd and manageable. The 3rd down efficiency will come up. You've seen those numbers go way up recently. So to me, it's that rushing attempts number. If you see them over 30, 35 attempts, they're generally going to do pretty well. But you go back to that Cardinals game, they had 9 rushing attempts. You just can't win football games like that. And it is partially because They are taking what the defense is giving them, but they're not able to succeed in those areas. The 49ers are not a team that's going to be able to push the ball downfield and go and score 14 points in 5 minutes. They're not a team like that. They're a team that is able to score 30 points over the course of a game and then eat up almost 40 minutes of clock. And to me, that's perfectly fine. This NFL season is wide open right now. Every single team has looked bad at one point, but if the 49ers are able to play their style of football and they're able to dictate how the game goes and they come out early and they take advantage of other teams' mistakes and they do not make mistakes, they will be able to run the football. They'll be able to have 35 plus attempts a game and they will win football games. And they will not just win games, they will dominate opponents and they will win by a lot. So hopefully they continue to do that. But that is going to do it for me today. I'll be back tomorrow. Me and my co-host Aiden, who's not here today, will be talking about the playoff chances for the Niners. But thank you all for listening, and I'll be back talking 49ers football tomorrow.